I'm going to talk about something that is dear to all of our hearts, and it's really strongly dear to the indigenous people of this area. And it has to do with some things called indigenous gifts. And they influence you all the time here in Seattle and in the Pacific Northwest. And they center around ancient gifts that come from a lot of experience over thousands of years. And it comes from verbal gifts that are passed down from generation to generation. And it also comes from emerging gifts that are happening around us all the time here in Seattle. So I'm going to speak a little bit about that because that had a lot to do with the Confluence Project in Maya Lin. But first, I want to read this to you. Look at this poem. Anybody know who Chief Dan George was? Yeah. Well, he's a Coast Salish Indian man, and he was in a little big man, and he was dressed up like a Plains Indian, but he was north of us from here. He's Coast Salish. And he was a very good poet, and he said, "The beauty of the trees, the softness of the air, the fragrance of the grass speak to me. The summit of the mountains, the thunder of the sky, the rhythm of the sea speak to me. The faintness of the stars, the freshness of the morning, the dewdrop on flowers speak to me. The strength of fire, the taste of salmon, and the trail of the sun," and this is to me most important, "and the life that never goes away, they speak to me, and my heart soars." So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. My heritage is Choctaw and Cherokee from Oklahoma, and my mother and grandmother said, anything you do, Johnpaul, make sure you pay close attention to the natural world, the animal world, the spirit world, and the human world. And in each one of those areas are a whole bunch of things that you can work with. And if you pay attention to those, just like that poem does, then life will never go away. So I'm going to read a little bit of it and just show you some images. The beauty of trees speak to me. The softness of the air speak to me. The fragrance of grass speak to me. And they come from the natural world. Seasons and cycles, cardinal directions, and plants, and day and night. Let's see if I can keep it moving here. More of that poem, the summit of the mountain, the thunder of the sky, the rhythm of the sea speak to me. That's here. That's why we live here. That's really important. And then there's the animal world, other living things that live with us here. Even in the city, they live with us on Green Lake or on Puget Sound. And they share the land, and they have a lot of power and strength. And we live in an area where they're expressed strongly in dancing and singing and that sort of thing. And they're related to wild places. And the faintness of the stars, the freshness of the morning, and the dewdrop on flowers speak to me. And a lot of that has to do with the spirit world. I'm not talking about church. I'm talking about creation and renewal, seasonal things, the spirit of rocks and dirt and soil that make carrots. And about birth and wellness, and I call round places. And the strength of fire, the taste of salmon, the trail of the sun. We get to see that right here in Seattle every evening over the Olympic Mountains. And that has a lot to do with our human world. And what I like to say the most important thing is, and that is transfer of knowledge. That transfer of knowledge is a gift that we pass down and that indigenous people have been passing down for generations and generations here in Puget Sound. So I'm going to show you a little bit of something of the land bridge, which is one of the confluence projects. And it was at the first civilized place in the Northwest, Fort Vancouver. And the Hudson Bay Company was there. And why was the Hudson Bay Company there? Because it was a good place to trade. It was the Klickitat Trail came over from eastern Washington, and it was a good trading place, and so Hudson Bay was a trading company, so they located there in that location. And then over many, many generations, Fort Vancouver lost its connection to the river by an intercontinental railroad and a highway. And so when Native people came to this place like they do for ceremonies now, they couldn't land their canoe on the beach and get to the fort. They had to go up into the city of Vancouver, about 5 or 6 miles, and come back around. So, like that trail, we were reconnecting Fort Vancouver and the land with the Columbia River, and that's what the bridge is all designed about. It's designed about that reconnection. So, I'll go along here. If you're ever flying into Portland Airport, look down on the Vancouver side, and if you see this curved bridge, that's the land bridge. There it is looking sort of downriver. It's a very organic place. Has a lot of stories that are being told about the land, the water in the area. And it goes between, on the left side here, the Intercontinental Railroad, and the highway on the right side. And it was a place where trash was dumped. And we were able to make it a place that connected land. And there's various words for land from the Chinook jargon that are expressed here. And we were able to make it a connection with the native culture in the area. And I wanted to show you in the grand opening, there was a few people there that day. And it's a pretty special place that Maya and Lynn and I got to really have a fun thing doing. That's part of the Confluence Project. And it has to do with a life that never goes away. And they speak to me, life never goes away. It's here. No matter what we do to it, it's here. And my heart soars. Thanks.